All right, let's just check that that's working. All right, cool. Whew, sorry about that. Technical hiccups, they call it. Right, in this live class, we're going to look at IELTS General Writing Task 1. We're going to look at the formal letter. Before we begin, I want you to get out a piece of paper and a pen, or a pencil, even better, a pencil. I want you to do this as per the real IELTS test. So please don't type your answers. Try and write them on a piece of paper. It's a completely different process physically and also psychologically, right? Let me explain. When you type something, you can go back and you can insert text. You can move the mouse, or you can delete text very easily, or you can change a little verb or whatever. When you write, you can't. So what you need to do when you write, and this is a good skill to start practicing before your IELTS test, is thinking of the sentence before you write it. Don't start writing the sentence and then go, that word needs to go at the front, or I need to switch this around, because it's very difficult to do on paper. Think of the sentence, then write it out. Think of the sentence, then write it out. It's a bit of a skill that you'll need to practice. Anyway, let's get started. So just spend 30 seconds reading this question prompt, which you might see on test day. All right, 15 seconds seems to be enough. Fine. So we look at this and we're writing a letter to the manager of a car rental agency. We're not very happy because there were some problems with the car. We can understand who we're writing, what type of letter, a formal, semi-formal, or informal, by who we're writing to. And we're writing to a manager. We do not know this person, or we can assume so. And it even says down below, dear sir or madam. Cool. So this is it in particular. You've already read that. That's good. What does an IELTS 9 letter look like? Or something close to a 9 at least. It will look something like this. This is 197 words. It only needs to be above 150, but I just happen to write a little bit more. You can see that there are 3 distinctly clear paragraphs. Okay, this is a well-constructed letter. I'm going to take you through this in this class from the top to the bottom. I'm going to show you everything you need to do to achieve a higher score. Okay. Just before we start, I've got a few critical tips. First of all, you need to write more than 150 words. Apparently, 23% of candidates lose marks because they don't write 150 words or more. In other words, they write less or fewer than 150 words, and they will lose almost an entire band score. I don't know exactly, but a significant amount. Number 2, you need to use complex sentences in your letter. Okay, how's this for a little tip? Imagine you write a perfectly grammatical letter. There's not a preposition out of place. Articles are great. The verbs are perfect. Everything is perfect, except you wrote in simple and compound sentences. What would you get for grammar as a score out of 9? You would get 4. The IELTS is very strict with this. They need you to be able to write complex sentences with subordinate clauses. Let me sort of show you what that means there. So these types of words are the critical words that you need to put into your letter. Words like after, or though, as, because, before, even if, even though, if, or in order that, for example. Let me give you an example of a complex sentence. Although blah, 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 comma, blah, blah, blah. Or you can construct it as blah, 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 comma, although blah, blah, blah. For example, although the car drove well, comma, it smelled awful. Or B, the car drove well, although it's, whoops, that should say smelled awful. My mistake there. Or you can use these types of sentences to create complex sentences which you need. Sentences with which or that. For example, the car smelled like garbage, which was really disappointing. That's a complex sentence. The car smelled so bad that we had to stop to clean it. You need to include sentences with this level of complexity in order to boost your grammar score above 4, up to 6, 7, 8, or even 9 if you write beautifully, okay? It's a critical tip, that one. But let's look more broadly at the 6-step method for writing letters. So we're going to have these 6 parts in our letter, Okay, I'm going to take you through this part by part. So first of all, we're going to have the greeting, which is dear sir or madam. You can memorize this. It's written in the instructions. We're going to have the ending, thank you for your consideration. You should memorize this. We're going to have the sign off, yours faithfully, because we're writing to someone whom we do not know. You should memorize this and obviously memorize your full name. So when we look at our letter, these parts of the letter are memorized. Now, there's some other things or other, let's say, phrases that we can memorize as well. First of all, I'm writing to, the reason for writing. I'm writing to verb, you should memorize. Paragraph 2, let me explain my situation in more detail, you should memorize. And would you kindly, or I would like to suggest, you can also memorize. So these parts of the paragraphs can be memorized, in fact. So what you need to write is this. You need to write the information in paragraph 1, the details. The information. In paragraph 2, you write the details. In paragraph 3, you write the request or the suggestion, okay? Basically, what your job is to do is this. Give the reason for writing the information, that's bullet point 1. Explain the situation in detail, that's bullet point 2. Request or suggest something, that's bullet point 3. So these are used across all different letter types. There's the reason for writing and then the information. Then you explain the situation in more detail and then you request or you suggest something. It always follows this structure, no matter if it's informal, formal, or semi-formal. The scenario will change, but this structure will not. So let's just get started. I want you to write the greeting, dear sir or madam. As you can see, it's in the instructions written here. I want you to copy that exactly. Please write it on a piece of paper. You have 30 seconds. Easy. Okay. So let's go back. Dear sir, madam, that's it. You just copy that, simple as pie. Number 2, you need to give a reason for writing, okay? So mine says this, I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with the car that I rented from ABC Car Rental. Give the reason for writing using the phrase I'm writing to plus verb. So you'll have 60 seconds to give the reason for writing starting now. It's a single sentence. How did you go? Let's have a little look at what's in the chat here. I'm writing to express my dismay over the car rental services from XYZ rental company 2 weeks ago. Express my dismay. I love that. That's nice. Or you could say, I'm writing to complain or express my disappointment, for example. There's many different ways you can skin a cat, and that's a couple of them there. Good. Nice. Let's move on to the next. Oh, here's mine. Sorry, here's mine. Let me read you mine. I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with the car that I rented from ABC Car Rental. That's the first sentence. I'm writing to verb, right? Cool. By the way, if you need help with your IELTS in any way, shape, or form, if it's writing or speaking or reading or listening, if it's writing task 1, writing task 2, if it's speaking part 2, Check out e2language.com. We have heaps and heaps of practice material, methods, overview lessons, mock tests, tutorials, live classes, everything you need just there. Right. Part 3, we need to give information. Bullet point 1. So my sentence actually carried on. I actually wrote a very complex sentence, a single sentence, in fact, in my first paragraph. So I wrote, I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with the car that I rented from ABC Car Rental. And then I carried on by giving information during the period 9 to 12 February 2018 from the shop, which is located in the CBD of Sydney and has the registration plates VSZ, 828. So I'm giving more information. If we go back, just before we look at this, I have to now I'm describing the details of the rental car. Okay, so I want you to carry on for the reason for writing. I'm writing to express my disappointment. Now I want you to give details about the rental car. You need to be imaginative, okay? What was wrong with the rental car? Not what was wrong with it, because if we look at second dot point here, you need to explain the problem. So let's not go there yet. We're not explaining the problem. We're explaining the details of the rental car, okay? So try not to mix up your two paragraphs here. You want to keep the problem separate from the details. So carry on your sentence. You'll have 3 minutes to talk about the details of the rental car in which you borrowed. All right, that was 3 minutes. How do we go? What sort of details did you include about the car? You could have talked about the make, the model, the registration plates, the color of it, the shape of it, where you picked it up from. I don't know. There's lots and lots of things you could think of to talk about the details of that car. And you can be as articulate as you can possibly, you should be as articulate as you possibly can in order to express the most beautiful language you possibly can to boost your scores. Cool. Let me show you mine. Mine said this. I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with the car that I rented from ABC Car Rental during the period 9 to 12 of February 2018 from the shop, which is located in the CBD of Sydney and has the registration plates VSZ828. Yeah, something a little bit funny with this sentence. I don't think that that last clause has the registration plate connects very well with the car. It's sort of connected more to the CBD of Sydney. Nevertheless, I've written a complex sentence, so that's going to help me in my grammar score. Cool bananas. Let's move on to part 4. I need to explain the situation in detail. So let's have a look. I'm going to start with the phrase, let me explain my situation in more detail, and then I'm going to get into the details. So what I need to do is explain the problems I experienced, okay? What you don't want to do when you write this is you don't want to mix up your paragraphs, okay? Keep the details separate from the problems. And on test day, you really need to keep that in mind. So now we're talking about problems. Where's my little thing going? Just bear with me. I've lost my timer. Where's my timer? Come back, timer. Oh, it's there. Strange. Is there. Okay. Cool. Now, again, you need to be imaginative. Think about what the problems were with this rental car, okay? Why are you writing back to them? What happened? Was it a mechanical fault? Was it something with the booking? Was it, I don't know. You think about it. Here we go. Whoops, it still isn't working. Strange. No, it is working. Anyway, I don't get that. Let's see. Here we go. 3 minutes starts now. Whoopsie, dropped my pen. I wonder if you need more time. Maybe you need more time. Just if you're in the Zoom webinar. Hmm. It's all right. All right, 3 minutes more. I agree. 3 minutes more. Let me take back my slides. Here we go. Let's spend another 3 minutes on this. I think it's important. All right, how are you going now? That should be enough time. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next section. Before we do that, let me read you mine. Let me explain my situation in more detail. Firstly, I was disappointed because the car was significantly smaller than the one advertised online. And secondly, it had a very unpleasant smell. Unfortunately, there were no other vehicles available, so we had no choice but to take it. After a few hours of driving, the smell became nauseating, so we had to have the car professionally cleaned at a local car wash. There you go, there's some imagination. It was too small and it was smelly. What I've also done here, you'll notice, is I've used a couple of discourse markers just to strengthen my paragraph, firstly and secondly. In fact, what I've also done is I've written a few complex sentences, but I want to show you at the end what they look like. Just, my God, I'm having the worst day for technology today. Technology's weird. It's like it has a little mind of its own, you know? You think it's all just buttons and cords and electricity, but nope. Still constrained by the laws of nature. Here we go. Number 5, request or suggest bullet point number 3. My paragraph looks like this, and the phrase that begins it is this: I would like to suggest that X. So what the cue card says is suggest what you think the manager should do. So we're going to spend 6 minutes doing this. Suggest what you think the manager should do. Let me give you another 3 minutes here. 6 minutes per paragraph makes sense. All right, actually just on time, let's just have a little think about this. If you spent 6 minutes here, 6 minutes here, and 6 minutes here, well, 3 sixes are 18 minutes in total here, plus a 2 minutes to write the the dear sir, madam, and then your details at the end. That's about 20 minutes, and that's how long you should spend on it. So 6 minutes per paragraph actually makes a lot of sense. Cool. Here's my paragraph for suggesting or requesting. I would like to suggest that you review this clearly unsatisfactory situation immediately so that, here's my complex sentence, other clients do not have the same experience. You should always provide vehicles that customers have carefully ordered online, and all vehicles should be thoroughly cleaned in advance. I've included the receipt from the car wash that was required to remove the unpleasant odor, and I also request that you reimburse me for the car rental itself. So in fact, I've suggested and requested in this paragraph, and both of those things are fine. Just before we move on, if you're watching this on YouTube, please, you may want to click the subscribe button, which is just down here. So whenever we're doing a live stream, you'll get a notification on your phone so you can watch it live, which is totally cool. Plus, I kind of like lying in bed in the morning and reading all the lovely comments that you write because well, E2 language seems to help out a lot of people, which is cool. So please do that. That'd be nice. Last but not least, number 6, the ending sign off and your name. That's really easy. Thank you for your consideration. Yours faithfully and your name. Let's go back and read it one more time because I want you to memorize it and copy it exactly, including that punctuation. Thank you for your consideration, full stop. Yours faithfully, comma, first name, last name. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this. Yeah, I don't even think you need 1 minute, to be honest. That's probably enough time there. Thank you for your consideration. Full stop. Yours faithfully, J. Merlot. Remember, that's the stuff that you would memorize. So what does your full letter look like? Well, mine looks like this. And if I remember correctly, it was 197 words. It has 3 significant paragraphs. It has a dear sir, madam at the top, and then the details at the bottom. As we learned, actually, there are not 8 parts. There are 6 parts to this method. So why would this letter get an IELTS 9 or thereabouts? Well, first of all, I wrote on topic. Second, I used precise vocabulary. Third, I used accurate grammar. 4, I used a logical structure. What does that mean to write on topic? Well, I did all of these things. I ticked these boxes and I kept them separate, by the way. In the first paragraph, I described the details of the rental car. In the second paragraph, I explained the problems that I experienced in detail. In the third paragraph, I suggested what I think the manager should do. That's why I would get full marks for task response. In addition, I have used formal language. Okay, I've used the dear sir, madam. I haven't used any colloquial language. It's all been very formal and serious. And if you're writing a formal letter, that's what you should do. Okay, why would I get full marks for vocabulary? Okay, well, have a look at some of these phrases that I've used. It's not necessarily single words, but it's phrases like express my dissatisfaction, during the period. I've used correct articles like the shop, registration plate, significantly smaller, advertised online, unpleasant smell, we had no choice but to take it. A single word like nauseating is an extremely less common, less frequent word that is very precise. Professionally cleaned, unsatisfactory situation, provide vehicles thoroughly cleaned, unpleasant odor, reimbursed. There's a range of vocabulary in there. And what I've been very conscious not to do is use the same word again and again and again. So I'm going to use the word car. I could use the word vehicle. Well, there's not so many synonyms for the word car, but at least I have 2. Other things I've done there as well. Just be conscious not to overuse a single word, okay? Try and use synonyms where possible, okay? Okay, why would I get a high score for grammar? Yes, it's accurate, but it's not all about accuracy. It's also about what they call range, or using a variety of grammar, okay? So if we look carefully at my letter here, you can see simple sentences in black and you can see complex sentences in red. In fact, that third paragraph and the first paragraph were complex sentences only. In the second paragraph, I wrote a couple of simple sentences, and the thank you for your consideration is also a simple sentence. Again, if you do not write complex sentences, you will not get a high grammar score. You cannot get over 4 for grammar if you do not include complex sentences. Importantly, when you're thinking about grammar, you have to get your verbs right. I have a range of different verbs that express the right meaning at the right time, like I am writing, rented, is located, a passive verb, has, present simple. Let me explain. What do you call those? I can't think of the name of it. I can't think of the name. Anyway, I might come back to that. Was disappointed. There's a passive and it's in the past. Was, it's a past simple. Had, past simple. Were, had. Became, past simple. And cleaned. Then I have phrases like would, like to, suggest with a modal verb. Should always provide. I have a negative, do not have carefully ordered, etc. There's a range of different verbs that express precise meaning. Lastly, I used a logical structure, and this is what the examiners look for as well. I've used the 6-part method here to structure up my letter. It makes complete sense, and it flows from beginning to end. Bob's your uncle. Now it's time for you to practice that sort of stuff. I think it's more than just practice, though. It's one thing to practice and to do writing. It's another thing to get feedback on your writing from an expert who understands both the IELTS itself and English language. Because it's not just about English language. You also have to satisfy the IELTS examiners. And it's not just about satisfying the IELTS examiners. It's also about writing perfectly, right? So do think about, look, you can get feedback from whoever you like, but if you do get feedback from E2 language, you can trust that our examiners, I shouldn't have said that. Our tutors who have been examiners, ex-examiners, are extremely knowledgeable about what they do, okay? Anyway, enough of that. I'm going to answer some questions in the chat. Jay, do you have some document for vocab building? Yeah, good call, because you need a wide vocabulary, a broad vocabulary, and also a deep, precise vocabulary. If you log into the website, you'll find word lists. I can't remember exactly where they are. They're probably in the reading section. I can't remember. Yep, it's in there. I think even as a free user, you can log in and download the word list. Mary, is this general writing task for academic purpose too? No, this is for general, IELTS general. IELTS academic is very different, and we have dozens of videos on YouTube or in the platform if you want to watch those. When do you use commas before conjunctions like and? That's a really complicated question that I can't quite answer here because I need to come up with examples. We do need to do a series on punctuation. Any more questions? Nope. All good? I think it's all good. How many kinds of essays do we need to practice before the exam? Okay, so writing task 2. There are 5 main essays. Let's see if I can remember this. Problem solution, advantages, disadvantages, opinion, what is your opinion or to what extent? There's the discuss both views and can't remember the 5th one. Discuss both views, problem solution. Advantages, disadvantages. I'm not on the top of my game tonight. I have to admit, I don't know what's going on. I can't remember, but there's 5 main ones. And then of those 5, there's another 2 because you can have advantages, disadvantages, plus opinion. Or you can have the discuss both views plus opinion. So there's in fact 7 different types. It's all in e2language.com. Everything you need is there. All the methods, lessons, all the overviews, all the practice, all the assessments, everything you need. Cool. No more questions. Let me just check YouTube live. All good. Okay, I think I need to go to bed, actually. I think I'm a bit tired. Thanks very much for coming along. I appreciate it. I hope it was helpful. Yes, practice. You have to. And think about all those little tips that I just taught you about complex sentences and vocabulary and the structure and everything. It's really important. It's a frustrating test if you don't do it properly, right? If you don't prepare properly and you get that low band score, you look at your scores and your heart just goes, ah. On the contrary, you may look at your scores and your heart goes, oh my God, I did it. So it is possible. Cool. Thanks for coming along.